quilt. So this week we're going to start sewing. So hopefully you got through all the cutting. There seemed to be a lot of cutting, and I was only doing the throw size. So if you're doing bigger, buckle up. There was a lot going on, and if you're not done, that's okay. You'll have time to catch up, hopefully, especially if we get the snow they're talking about. Not my favorite four-letter S word. You might get some sew days in there, so it'll be okay. You can just keep following along. Don't forget the videos are always out there for you, so you can always refer back. I'm going to show you two methods to do this week's steps. So what we're doing is making this triangle piece. And what will end up is they're going to get married together. So there'll be two of them that butt up against each other to make kind of a diamond. This is your accent fabric. So you can do it scrappy if you want. Just remember you'll need to do it in pairs. So just even amounts of whatever fabrics you're using to cut up to make these. So otherwise, you're just using one fabric. If you had me do a kit for you, you only got one fabric. And so that was easy. You just chop it all up. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera. I am going to show you two ways. There is one method where I'm going to show you with my friction pen, so just marking it. And then one method using the simple folded corners ruler that I have buried. All right, so I'll show you two different ways so that if you don't have the ruler or just prefer sitting and marking everything first, you can pick and choose which way you want to do it. All right, guys, so I'm going to move this camera, get you a better view what's going on. Okay, so here we go, my lovely cutting mat, hopefully. All right, so first method will show you friction. Okay, easy enough. So you have your accent rectangle, then the background. We're putting them at a 90 degree. Okay, the hardest part for marking this is that you are trying to figure out where the corner is of this accent piece. So if anything, you could use your marking tool to kind of mark there. But otherwise, what's nice with the simple folded corners ruler, because it's already got that diagonal and it's got all these marking lines, I can easily lay this ruler on the left edge of my background with the diagonal corners matching here and here, and then draw my line. So this is not the seam allowance. This is your actual sew line. Because then what you would do is you'd go back and trim it, and I'll show you how that works. But right now you just need your diagonal. So you're going from point to point of where your accent is hiding on the back side. All right. And then easy enough, you take it to your machine and you sew it. Magic. Okay. And then what you can do with either this ruler or any ruler, you can use the 4.5 by 8.5, whatever works. You just want to make sure you're lining up on that sew line that you drew and giving yourself the extra 1/4 inch, okay, and trimming off. So this just makes it easy because you're lining everything up to trim it, and it's already showing you your seam allowance. But any ruler that you can measure 1/4 inch is fine, okay? Then it'll open up, you'll press them open, and magically, ta-da! It'll look like this. And then you're going to repeat. So do all one side first, and then you're going to flip to your other side and do pretty much the same thing. Just make sure your diagonal is going the opposite direction. So this time we're going to make sure our diagonal is going this way. And you draw, making sure you're right at the corner of your accent down here, and you're at the corner where they match up here of your background and your accent. Draw your line, stitch it, trim it, and then it'll look like this guy. Okay, so that's if you want to use your friction pen or whatever marking tool you have, right? Easy peasy. Otherwise, the other method is I don't know, I kind of like this because I'm cutting and trimming all at the same time and no drawing is involved. So once again, your accent fabric, your background is face down. So your right sides together. Remember, we're always sewing 1/4 inch seam allowances. And my stitch length is generally at a 2.5, just in case you want to know. So these two sides are lined up. I can peel it up and kind of look, shift it, make sure it's all nice and lined up. Now I'm using the simple folded corner ruler, lining it up almost the same way. So when I was using it for the friction marking, I had it a 1/4 inch over because I didn't need to have that seam allowance. I was drawing my stitch line. For this, because I need that 1/4 inch seam allowance because it's going to help me line it up against my foot, I'm making sure that now my diagonal line is this extra line that they've added that is your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then trim. Okay, so it's going to look a little funny here, right? Because that's our extra seam allowance, and the background is a 1/4 inch down here. Okay, because it's giving me my seam allowance, and then I just take it straight to my machine, line up that straight edge on the machine, and sew it. So in the end, I don't know that you can see because I've got just a nice neutral thread in there, I have sewn, and I already have my 1/4 inch, and it's already trimmed, so I can go straight to the iron and be done. And it'll look like that. So it just depends which way you want to go. Some people like to sit and draw lines, you know, in front of the TV or whatever, and don't mind, you know, doing that portion. And that way, it does seem a little faster because then you're just sewing a whole bunch at once. We'll come back up here and do chain piecing, which is great. I love chain piecing. I always advocate chain piecing. The only reason why I like this with the ruler is that I'm not drawing, so I'm taking away that step, and I'm cutting and sewing at the same time. So it's a little slower because I'm cutting each piece and then taking it to the machine, but I still chain pieced it. I still just put one in at a time. I was just doing my trim step before my sew step, so almost kind of backwards, which is nothing new for me, right, guys? So those are the two methods. That's all you're really doing, is you're just making all these guys. So, but definitely do like the right hand side all first, and then the left, or the left and then the right. Keep it consistent. Not that it really matters. If you screw it up, please don't undo it. Please don't start over. It won't really matter, because in the end, like this seam allowance here, this little 1/4 inch from the tip of the, which is essentially kind of a flying geese block, to the top, is going to get sucked into the next seam. So you're really not going to know in the end whether you started right or left or switched them in between. It really doesn't matter. But I just like it for consistency's sake, because there are certain things I'm a little OCD about. So otherwise, that's it. Super simple. So work on those, because if you're doing throw size, I think there's 60 of them, which is quite a few. So that's a lot of trimming and a lot of pressing. So be prepared to do that work. And then next week, we've got even more going on. So if you aren't done cutting, now's the time to get caught up and work on this piece. If you have any questions, reach out to me, email me, Mindy@quiltingmayhem.com, reach out to me through Facebook, call me at the shop, whatever works. I don't care. Just make sure you ask questions, or if you get stuck, or if it's not working for you, just let me know. I'll walk you through it. I'll help you out. Whatever you need, just let me know. Otherwise, have a happy Friday. It's not snowing here yet in Snohomish, so I'm thankful that maybe it won't come here, but who knows? I like a good snow day, sew day once in a while. So just keep on stitching, everybody.